Alright, so I'm going to be talking about three stories from the Bible today. The creation story, the flood, and Exodus. The first chapter states that God creates Adam and Eve at the same time. In the second chapter, God creates Adam, then Adam wanders around a little bit, names the animals, does a few other things, and then talks to God and says that he's alone. So God's like, okay, I'll give you a mate. So he takes Adam's rib and creates Eve. The first two chapters of the book already are conflicting creation stories. So which one is really true? And believers will say, well, it's just two versions of the same story. That's fine, but when it comes to the next story of the Bible, you can't go ahead and say it's supposed to be taken literally, and when it says something it means it, because that's obviously not true. And if God made Adam, why wouldn't he make Eve in the same manner? These are all questions that are really unanswered and should be answered, but Christians can rationalize and come up with their own explanations for these anomalies. Alright, the second story is the flood. And the Bible says the great flood covered the entire world. And the problem with that is that that's physically impossible. Even if all the ice caps melted, it still wouldn't cover the entire planet. There would still be areas around the world that still had land. And I think we can all agree that there's no way that Noah could have put 10 billion species in his ark and then distributed them in different regions of the earth that they are native to. That is also literally impossible. And no, I can't explain where the story came from, but it's probably a mixture of stories about a flood on the Euphrates River. It's about 125 miles southeast of present-day Baghdad. There is an archaeological evidence that there was a 6-day storm around 2900 BC, and the river rose 22 feet. The river overflowed and a lot of people got killed. There's absolutely no evidence that no story is true outside of the Bible. Alright, the third story is about Exodus. Thousands of slaves are supposedly enslaved by the Egyptian pharaoh. We cannot find any evidence of this anywhere. There is no evidence outside the Bible that proves that Jews were ever in Egypt. There is no evidence of Moses outside the Bible also. So Moses gets all the Jews together and they escape and spend 40 years walking around in the desert. If thousands of people spent 40 years walking around in the desert, pretty sure there'd be evidence that someone has been there. I mean, seriously, we find evidence of two people, like a cave millions of years ago, like cavemen. How do we know they're there? Oh yeah, there's evidence. They left evidence. There's absolutely no evidence that these people ever were wandering in the desert and that they ever did exist. The only evidence that people have is the Bible, and that's enough for Christians to believe.